In time, you got to have these kind of days where you kind of come to the end of a little bit of camp. We still got, obviously school starts on Monday, but this was an opportunity for us to kind of let our guys play, get off the field a little bit, and let some guys kind of have some fun with what it is that we do, and not overly worry about all the other things on a practice day. But 16, 17 days out here, these guys have they've come a long way, and we're figuring out what us looks like. I'm not sure exactly, you can talk about it, but September 3rd will show a little bit more of what us looks like.
Felt like to start, defense had a little bit of a edge on the offense, but maybe that balanced out as the day went on.
Yeah, I think that maybe in the first few series, I think the offense did move the ball in the first series. No big plays, which obviously defensively is so critical. I think last year we were 1, 2, or 3 in the country based on what you defined as a big play. But any of those 20-plus plays or 25-plus plays, defensively been really, really, really good. And I think it kind of showed in the first series. We didn't, I don't think that they stopped them, but no big plays. Those drives were just hard to continue to sustain. And then I think it switched around when we made a couple big plays down the field offensively. Then the energy kind of can switch and change.
It's got to be hard for you, right? Because you're pulling for both sides.
Yeah,
so you want to see the big plays.
You're going to be upset either way at some point in time. I'd like to say you're going to be happy either way, but sometimes for me, when you're looking at it, the glass half full isn't always the way I come out of this thing looking at it. But I think when we sit down and you kind of start to really look at it, you're looking at individual stuff too. You're looking at how groups work together. So there's be a lot of really good things. It's day 15. I think it becomes more difficult on the offense, especially offensive line. Because by nature the defensive line is going to rotate. Even with that 1 and 2 group, they're probably playing 11, 12 different guys. And offensive line-wise, you don't have the chance and opportunity to do that. We had a guy like Gavin that's going sometimes with the 1s and the 2s. So it does become a little bit more difficult on those guys up front. I think that kind of shows late in camp too.
I know you're not going to give us the answer.
I don't give you the answer ever.
I know.
That's
why I know.
What answer are you looking for?
Quarterback. Where are you guys at least in terms of the decision-making process, even if you won't tell us who it is?
No, the great thing about it is you see a lot of people around the country, they name things, and maybe it becomes really clear. And I think the unique thing for us is these guys have all done, two in particular, obviously, with Evan and Ben, have done some really, really good things. And so it makes it difficult. But we know that as we get into this next week and we move forward, kind of, that us is going to have to define some things and a practice here. The number one thing I talk about is about the human element, and whether it's the quarterback position, the linebacker position, the corner position, the running back. The human element is always something that you got to try to keep outside your locker room, and we all have it. But as those kind of things start to define themselves, whether it's a quarterback position or any other position, we got to find ways to make sure we grow and stick together. And so I think as we push forward here this next week and a half, that's some of the more difficult things that we got to deal with is that human element.
Another one's running back. Miles Montgomery looks like he's, at least in his time out here, has maybe earned the trust of the staff a little bit more.
I think all of them have. Obviously, Chuck and Monty have been with us for a long time, and so you trust those guys by nature of all that they've done. I thought the big thing was for the running backs is to see, hey, can we trust these guys? And they've done a really good job at securing the football. They've done a great job at taking care of things. Obviously, they're still young. I think the big picture of the offense and the protections is always the most difficult thing. But I would say that if there's one of the things I'll write in my notes about what we figured out here is we got enough tailbacks, 4 of them, that I think that you know darn well we can trust as we head into September 3rd.
You mentioned talking about quarterbacks, that it's not something they necessarily will announce, but is that something you have to announce internally to the team for the guys to know who the guy is?
I think that as your team develops, I think there's a lot of those things that that you got to figure out, because the connections are so critical and so big. And there'll be roles for everybody, but that is one of those unique spots that is so critical, not just to your team, but to your locker room. And so as we get into this next week, there'll be a lot more things where we start to hone in on who those guys are, who's going to take the first snaps, and then we'll kind of see it from there.
You talked about the us factor and figure out who us is, or I guess
it's kind of not grammatically very good.
Is that a concern? Not to know who you are yet before leaving?
I don't know that you really ever know who you are. We say it all the time. It's not what you put on the walls, right? It's not what us really is. It's what you promote, what you permit, and ultimately what you put on film. And So every year you got to figure out what us is when you go out there and you put it on film. But, internally, we have some plans of what we want us to be, but we've got to kind of solidify that for ourselves first and foremost before we, kind of solidify it for the rest of the country and the fan base too.
I know last night's always a special night out here. With the kind of, we talked about new leadership group. Did you see some of that last night?
It's always a great night, just in the sense it's not long, but you get your guys up there, and if there's not anything that you see from everybody that steps up there, I think that you can walk away from that not recognizing the love they have for the guys around them, for this entire team, the environment and the culture. Then you don't really know anything about the program. And everybody has a little bit of different message and a little bit of different advice. But I think all in all, I got the sense and I got the best feel out of it, because just you could feel the heartfelt love for the guys in the locker room. And to me, that's what us really is, and that's the way us sticks together.
We don't talk about threes, and especially freshmen a lot out here, but has Jonathan Thompson surprised you with how much he's in the backfield?
He has done a really good job, and a little bit of sneaky quick and slippery, and has created a lot of havoc, which is what we like to do, especially from that position. And I think he's mature beyond his years. For a guy that didn't play inside the box and was hurt as a senior in high school, getting guys lined up, I think he's got a future as a leader and kind of the guy that plays in the middle.
Did you expect that coming in? Or?
You don't always know. I mean, you always think, obviously, you recruit them for a reason, and you think they're going to be able to play, and they're really good players. But you don't always know how they'll grasp things. And you take a lot of guys at the linebacker position that play outside the box because they're athletes, and you move them inside the box, and that's a transition, and it's hard sometimes to let things trigger and play fast in there. But he's done a really good job.
Did you find this year's captains out here?
We don't. We'll go back to campus, and then we'll kind of hone in on that. I'm not as big on captains. I mean, we'll do it. Captains are just guys that actually stand out in front and represent us. I'm always been more focused on what the locker room is really like, and there's so much leadership from within that sometimes you name captains and it becomes something that's not as positive in some ways. And I always remind these are the guys that just stand up and represent us, but we always represent each other.
Good.